Welcome to S30TV. I'm Laura Cascanet.
And I'm Jesse Giacchetto. Today, our focus is climate change. Research shows the effects on our environment are worse now than we ever thought before. From extreme weather and natural disasters, to the extinction of animals, to the plastic flooding our oceans. We're running out of time to save our Earth.
So today we'll be talking to guests from Climate Action Network Canada and Sheridan's own Sustainability Office about what we have to do to save our only planet we have. And we'll also explore why, in the face of all the hard evidence, a lot of people don't seem to care about climate change.
Here to tell us why we may not care is environmental journalist, former professor, and author David Ropeek. He now joins us live via Skype.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, thank you for coming on the show today, David.
Awesome. Well,
what do you think the biggest contributors to climate change are?
oh my goodness. Well, you know, the technical stuff is the gases that our lifestyle are putting into the atmosphere, causing the chemistry to capture heat that comes from the sun and can't bounce out. But more profoundly, most profoundly, humans mastered fire. And ever since then, we've been able to expand our population and our use of technology in ways that allow us to enhance our own chances of safety and survival, which is our most powerful instinct, but there are side effects. And the problem with climate change is those side effects are long-term, distant, and abstract. So unlike war or other things that we respond to right away, the other problem with climate change, besides the culture of how we behave, is it's just not in our face enough to make us worried enough to do anything about. That's the other problem, if you will, psychologically, with the challenge of fixing it.
When do you think society will change their habits?
Oh, goodness. I don't think they will. I'm sorry to be pessimistic, and I apologize as an older person for the world that we're giving to you younger people. I sincerely mean that. I mean that for my children. But we're behaving the way we are because it's instinctive to do that. We're mostly still animals. We're not fancy thinking people and journalists and Skype talkers. We're mostly about survival. We're still mostly driven by our biology and our instincts to survive. And that drives us to acquire the things that make us feel safe. Not just comfortable, not a fancy car, but, you know, home, housing, heating, and then all the fancy stuff on top of that. That's the bigger instinct. So not until we feel really super threatened by lots of things do we react the way we need to climate change. And unfortunately, the way climate change works is it'll be baked. It already is baked into the system that a lot of change is going to happen, but later from what we've done now. So the delay in this problem makes the challenge really is going to be adapting to the harm that is already baked into the system, mitigating it some, but adapting more.
And lastly, what do you think the future of the Earth will look like?
I'm not that good. Short term, long term, tomorrow, you know, right? One really important message here is we talk about these environmental issues as though there's nature and there's us. That's wrong. We're animals too. We have these extra powers, cognitive, language, but we're an animal too. I mean, we carry invasive species around the world by our activities. So do elephants, so do ants, so do birds. We're part of nature. We are impacting nature. They call this age now, officially the geologists, they call it the Anthropocene, the human era. You can see records in the rocks of nuclear power and plastic and things that never existed before humans. When they come, whoever comes 10,000 years from now and they do the geology of the layers, there'll be a layer that says, oh, humans were here. Whether we'll still be there or not is fun for sci-fi people, but not me. But nature is really powerful, and it's undergone big kicks in the teeth worse than this, and here we are. So in the long term, that's the glowy look of nature, but what it means to us, wow. I think we have serious challenges in our immediate future.
David, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, sorry about the bummer. Take care. Be well.
Bye.
Those were some serious issues raised by David that we should all take some time to think about. But not quite everyone is quite so pessimistic about our future. Earlier today, I talked with Tika Newton, the campaign coordinator of Climate Action Network Canada, about climate change and what we can all do to help reduce our carbon footprint. Thanks for joining us today, Tika.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
And do you think people are becoming desensitized to the issue because they hear about it so much?
Oh, not at all. Actually, what we've noted is that, we've been at this for a long time now, and climate change has always been, of course, a really salient issue for us, but it hasn't necessarily piqued the public consciousness or public interest until really quite recently. Like, I think it's an issue that people have known about for a long time, but it's not really top of mind and present in people's day-to-day, lived set of concerns. But that has shifted noticeably, particularly just in the last year, and especially since October. So in the first week of October in 2018, the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, put out a report that outlines the steps that need to be taken in order to ensure that global temperatures don't rise more than 1.5 degrees Celsius over the coming century, by 2100. And they basically said we have a little over a decade to cut our emissions in half globally if we want to attain that goal. That was a report that really made a lot of headlines in mainstream media, and it captivated a lot of people's attention. It really shook people up. And since that time, we've actually seen a lot more interest in just from the general public in getting involved in fighting climate change.
And how do you get people to really care about climate change?
So one is understand your own energy use and where your energy comes from, and make wiser and more responsible energy choices where you can. So that's the question that you were just asking me. But then the other two components of it are talk to your family and friends. So talk about it, make it part of the daily conversation so that people are thinking about it and realizing where it impacts them in their lives. And then the third thing is to work together and talk to your politicians and your elected leaders and the people who are in positions of power to make decisions, and collectively ensure that the people you're talking to, like your friends, family, community, are also doing that, so that your decision makers know that they have a mandate to act on climate change. So that combination of things, really, that's the secret sauce.
That's really good. And what are some hopeful things that you've seen recently in regards to preventing or slowing down the effects of climate change?
There is this massive rising up of people who have never been involved in the climate movement before. They're just average, everyday people who are concerned, and they're starting to take action. And in particular, I would say the movement by youth to do this is astronomical. It's so inspiring. So there are youth all around the world who have been engaging in student strikes or other forms of mobilization and engagement to raise awareness about climate change. And so we see hundreds of thousands of students in countries all over the world, including here in Canada, who are taking to the streets and making their voices be heard. That's really inspiring.
That's amazing. Well, Tika, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks.
The internet is buzzing, and this week it's all about bow, cutting ropes, and loving your pets. Take a look at what's trending.
3, 2, 1, cut. Oh! Cut.
Bobby.
Oh, yeah! 2, 1!
Can someone tell me, well, hi, I'm sick after getting a flu shot that's supposed to prevent me from getting sick?
First, we're rolling out our dough pieces to about 4 inches wide and then dumping about a tablespoon's worth of pork filling into the center. Then we gotta close it up using this complicated pleating and twisting technique, which I didn't do a very good job of on my first go-around, so...
Pump, let's talk early beginnings growing up in Miami. In and out of school, do you remember what you were wearing to high school, though?
I wasn't a sneakerhead like that. I ain't had bread like that.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
Don't go anywhere, Sheridan.
bensound.com. bensound.com.
Welcome back, Sheridan.
Now over to Lauren for a look at the news you should care about.
Doug Ford indefinitely suspended Randy Hillier from Ontario PC caucus today. The Premier says the suspension was based on disrespectful comments that Hillier made to parents of children with autism. The parents say Hillier responded to their concerns about funding by saying yada yada yada. Ford did not specify what the comments were. The Mueller report may be done and delivered by early next week. According to CNN, U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr will prepare to share the report with Congress soon after. It's unknown how much information will be revealed. The highly anticipated Russia investigation has been underway for almost 2 years. Barr has said that the identities of uncharged officials will be protected. 11-year-old Ria Rajkumar was laid to rest in Etobicoke today. The young girl was allegedly killed by her father, who has been charged with first-degree murder. Her family and friends say they will remember her contagious laughter and loving smile. The funeral was held this morning at the Lotus Funeral and Cremation Center in Etobicoke. It was open to the public. Freezing rain is coming back to the GTA tonight. Environment Canada issued a special weather statement for Halton and Peel regions. The statement advises residents that snow flurries will begin in the afternoon and turn into freezing rain in the evening. Ottawa City Councillors dedicated nearly $800 million annually to spend on garbage, water, and the environment. But they're still coming under fire from residents of the city who say the town isn't devoting enough attention to combat climate change. An Australian rat has become extinct. What's the cause? Climate change. The rats lived on a tiny coral island off of northern Australia. According to the Australian government, it's the first mammal known to have become extinct due to climate change. They were known to be hundreds of them in the 1970s, but they haven't been seen in about 10 years. Rising sea levels are believed to be the reason their habitat has been destroyed, prompting the extinction. Canada will not sign an amendment that would ban shipping of any kind of garbage, even recyclables, to developing countries. The amendment was put forward after shipping containers were found with rotting garbage sitting dormant at the Philippine ports from 2013 to 2014. 103 containers were sent to the Philippines labeled as plastic for recycling, but local authorities noted that it was actually household waste, including dirty diapers, food, and electronics. A panel of climate change experts warn of a grim future. According to speakers at the Planetary Security Initiative, food and water shortages will only add to the flood of displaced people in the Middle East and North Africa, providing more opportunities for extremist groups and sparking wars in the fight for more food. So what's Sheridan doing to combat climate change? Let's head over to Laura Lee to find out.
The Office for Sustainability wants to reduce Sheridan's carbon footprint and make our campus waste-free by 2020. Our reporter Nick Snow is live at Trafalgar with Herbert Sinek, Manager of Sustainable Energy Systems. Nick?
Thanks, Laura Lee. Today I'm here with Herbert Sinek, who plans on having Sheridan waste-free by 2020. So how does the Office of Sustainability plan on making Sheridan waste-free?
So we launched in 2014 the Zero Waste Sheridan program, And that's really a bunch of practical measures, a bunch of cultural shift, and a lot of knowledge that we have to share with the Sheridan community in order to get ourselves to that 2020 goal. So it starts with stuff like the bins behind us here, where we've actually implemented 3-stream sorting, so people can separate their organics out, their recyclable materials, and divert stuff from landfill so it doesn't end up there in the first place. And then beyond that, we've got a whole set of culture we've got to get. Just the idea of actually asking ourselves whether we need to buy something in the first place and bring it in, what we can do during its life cycle to repair it, to put it back into separate service, and at the end of its life, what do we do with it that's meaningful that keeps it out of landfill?
And so that is Mission Zero?
Mission Zero is that's actually part of it. Mission Zero in its entirety is a philosophy, it's a collection of measures, all of which are really to try to get Sheridan to the point where it has near zero impact.
That's wonderful. And how will the Office of Sustainability reduce Sheridan's energy and carbon emissions by 50% by 2020?
Yeah, great question. In 2013, we launched the Integrated Energy and Climate Master Plan. That was essentially a general plan to achieve those goals by doing a whole range of project activity. So it started with a lot of work in our buildings to get the energy intensity out of the buildings in the first place. In 2016, we put a bunch of new pipes in the ground to connect all the buildings to these new modern central plants that we just finished building one here in Oakville. We finished the one in Brampton about a year or two ago. And we're now running state-of-the-art equipment to heat and cool our buildings.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so why were these implementations put into place?
We were hearing from the Sheridan community, and now so this goes back, 5 years or so, but it was very clearly said to us that we want to see some leadership on energy. We want to see leadership in the waste conversation, and we want to see Sheridan really do something meaningful for sustainability. So we were responding to that cue. How do we really raise the benchmark? How do we do something super innovative?
And in 10 years, where do you think Sheridan will be in terms of sustainability?
Sheridan is already at this point looked upon by its peers as a leader in the space. And from what I gather, both from what we're seeing out in terms of the general environment in which we operate to what our community wants, we're going to push that even further. We're going to go much further.
That's perfect. Thank you. And now back to the studio.
In this week's segment of Wagwan, we asked Sheridan students why they are concerned about climate change and what they're doing about it. Why are you concerned about climate change?
Well, we're at a point where climate change is slowly but surely becoming more of an apparent factor, and there are more, especially young people, sort of aware of the whole thing. However, it's still at a point where there really isn't a whole lot of positivity about the whole thing. It's apparent and we're aware of it, but that awareness sort of isn't enough, I find, personally, especially, being the next door neighbor to a country that's being ruled by someone who just outright does not believe in climate change. It definitely is sort of something that we have to sort of take charge on. We can't count on the adults anymore for that kind of stuff. And we're at a point where if we don't really step up and kind of do our part, it's not really gonna, no one else is gonna do it for us, essentially. And I find that it's really important, even the small things, just being aware of what climate change actually is, and sort of just not being completely apathetic about the whole thing. I find that even that kind of can just play a role in just, the day and age of social media. People's opinions are everywhere, right? But if we're at a point where everyone can kind of be aware of it, they can sort of almost placebo affect everyone else to sort of start thinking about that.
Why are you concerned about climate change?
I'm concerned about climate change because mainly in colder areas, the snow is melting at a rapid rate, and a lot of animals are losing their homes.
I think for climate change, it's very important that we should, take into consideration what it is, because when you look at the environment-wise, things have not been going well in the past couple of years. say for instance like the snow days, like I've heard about like that's usually not supposed to happen, like with like how bad it was like the past couple of weeks and stuff like that. And the obvious one is about the glaciers melting and stuff like that with global warming. Yeah, it's just really bad, and that how the whole temperature shift is just really, really bad for all living things on the planet, I guess.
So why are you concerned about climate change?
Yeah, what I'm concerned about climate change is that, of course, since like during these past, I guess, wintry months, it has getting warmer and then cold again. So it's pretty much like on and off again. And like which worries me about the environment as well, because like I do worry about the ice caps melting and the polar bears, things like that.
If you are doing anything, what are you doing to reduce your footprint?
Well, I've been commuting instead of taking like my car recently, and recycling.
To spread awareness of climate change, I guess, that we should just like let everybody know what's going on and try to, you know, I guess watch the news to be informative within ourselves, and like I said before, like let other people know what's going on so that everyone can take in consideration for their actions for what we can do for the future wise.
I try my best to recycle properly, especially like since our school is mainly big on compost, garbage, recycling, even mixed recycling. So I even try to look at the pictures and try to like separate my garbage. That's what I've been trying to do.
It's time for another break.
We'll be back with entertainment, sports, and your weather forecast. Stay tuned.
Bensound.com. Bensound.com.
Welcome back to S30TV.
Now we're going to head over to Shane for all things entertainment.
Thanks, guys. International music sensation and fashion icon Rihanna turns 31 today. The pop star is known for her record-breaking music feats, many business ventures, and her humanitarian work in countries across the globe. Happy birthday, Riri. And also, happy birthday to my mom, who deserves an award just for putting up with me. Infiltrate the enemy, moving on them randomly. Sounds about right, Travis. The latest news from the House of Kardashian is that Khloe Kardashian and Cleveland Cavaliers forward and Brampton native Tristan Thompson have split up over rumors of his infidelity with Jordan Woods, a close friend to the Kardashian family. From the what the hell were they thinking file, the hoodie with a tie that looks like a noose is bringing lots of attention to Burberry. The questionable design was unveiled at London's Fashion Week. One question, why? The fashion drama never ceases. Captain Marvel is giving critics and fans of the Marvel Universe a reason to go nuts. The early screening drew nothing but praise. The film's social embargo was lifted just yesterday, finally allowing fans to give their first reactions. Many say this could be Marvel's best edition yet. The third and final installment of How to Train Your Dragon is getting an exclusive pre-screening right here tomorrow at Sheridan. The well-known animated trilogy featuring Canada's own Jay Baruchel takes place 1 year after its sequel. Tickets are free for the alumni and $6.50 for guests. Here's a preview.
It's a hidden dragon world. Toothless, go introduce yourself.
Netflix and chill fans are asking what's going on. Over the last several days, the streaming service known for their original series and collection of films and shows has been cutting a few of their well-received shows, such as Friends from College, The Punisher, and Jessica Jones. This is sparking concerns over TV fans and experts. So far, no answers from Netflix. 36 Sheridan alumni have been nominated for the 2019 Canadian Screen Awards, which spans across 20 categories. Since the first award started in 2013, over 160 Sheridan alumni have been nominated for the Canadian Screen Awards. The awards will be presented on March 31st in Toronto, and students can watch it on CBC. That's all for entertainment. Now we'll throw the ball into Owen's court for a look at sports.
Thanks, Shane. Your Sheridan Bruins men's basketball team used a huge second half in their game on Friday to take down top-ranked Humber College. Trailing by 8 at the half, third-year guard Nick Campbell went bonkers, scoring 18 of his 32 points in the half to lead the Bruins to the win. The Bruins played their next home game against the Algonquin Thunder with a trip to the OCAA Championships on the line. The Maple Leafs lost 3-2 in overtime last night against the St. Louis Blues. With the win, the Blues have a franchise record 11 wins in a row. Rookie goalie Jordan Binnington won his 9th straight game, which is the longest winning streak in their franchise history for a rookie goaltender. The Maple Leafs will look to bounce back tomorrow night at home as Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals visit Scotiabank Arena at 7. If you're looking for a chance to see Zion Williamson and #1 ranked Duke take on rival UNC, you better be ready to pay up. Tickets for tonight's game reportedly started at a whopping $2,500, with the most expensive pair of tickets going for $10,000 each. Williamson and fellow freshman and Canadian R.J. Barrett are lighting up the NCAA this year, and with a deep-seated Duke-UNC rivalry, tonight's matchup is bound to be a good one. Superstar free agent infielder Manny Machado made waves by signing the largest free agent contract in American pro sports history, agreeing to a 10-year, $300 million deal with the San Diego Padres. Machado reportedly have offers with a higher annual value, but the $300 million deal was the most guaranteed money. With one of the biggest dominoes of free agency now unsigned, all eyes will turn to Bryce Harper, as the star outfielder still has not found a home, with players already reporting for spring trading. A slow off season for free agency could start to pick up with Machado now signed. Who knows? That's all for sports today. Back to Laura Lee and Jesse.
And now for the weather. Every week we'll be looking out for someone like you to feature as our weather host. This week it's Jude Levy.
Hi, my name is Jude Levy, and I am with the Performance Arts Preparation Program at Sheridan. Here's your 5-day forecast. Today is going to be an icy one. It's going to feel like -7, and we can expect snow that turns into freezing rain later this evening. The flurries will carry into tomorrow, and it will feel like -7 again. Friday, we finally see some sun and warmth with a high of 2 degrees and a low of -1. Saturday will be a mix of sun and clouds with a high of 2 and a low of -3. Sunday really warms up with a high of 8, but we'll see a mix of rain and snow all day. This is Jude Levy with the 5-day forecast. Now back to the studio.
And now here is a look at the meme of the week. So Jesse, what do you think about that meme?
I mean, I didn't understand it at first, but I get the point is that he's an extremely handsome young man and he gets girls to recycle.
Exactly. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next week. Have a restful reading week.